Hello and welcome to the Cyber1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and in this video, this is part 3 of Fred's stomach and lower torso. In the previous videos, we welded together a heap of parts. I actually found and mounted a pot. We embedded some nuts, drilled holes through and then embedded nuts so that we're using machine screws instead of self-tapping screws. And I located some servos. These are actually ones I used in a previous build of Fred. So in this video, we're going to look at the assembly of this, and I think we might even put some front covers on. And if we get really excited, we might even look at the back covers. So let's start putting things together. Okay, so this is a servo that was used previously, and I will pull this apart. That rubber gasket's about had it. Now, to pull this board out, I'd have to desolder these two pins from the back of the motor, and this one is actually the difficult one. It's actually an earth pin connected to the frame of the motor, and it sucks the heat out of the soldering iron so fast it's hard to desolder it. But in the bottom of these, they normally have a potentiometer, one of those things in black. This is not the original one. The original one is still in the original Inmoov because it's near impossible to get it out of there. This is, of course, a high-tech HS805BB. And this is the back end. The other thing I might do is try and get all those gears where they should be. That's better. Almost. Okay, so in this particular model servo, this piece of built up nylon here actually comes right up here and across and down, and that hits on two pieces here to limit how far it can rotate. Because we're going to be using these in a multi-turn application, we need to cut that out so that it will continue to turn past that point. And it is for that reason, let me just pull these two gears out, that pot, which normally sticks up through that hole there and connects into that flat rectangle shaped hole, that has to be removed. It will damage the pot. That means that we need to put the pot somewhere else. And in this case, this is it. It gets mounted in this piece here, like so. And then this piece here, this is the back frame, will line up like so, and as it rotates, it will turn the pot. So for that to all work, we will need to connect these wires, the terminals from the pot, back to the servo. Now, these are the original servo control wires, and they go to the original location, those three terminals there, as they used to. These two wires, the black and the red ones, are actually connected to the two terminals up here and soldered in. So whenever this motor gets power to turn one way or the other, that power is also present on this one, and that's important, we'll get to in a minute. And these three wires here come from where the original pot was. So what I've done is I've created this wire with a plug on it that then will plug into here. Now the important thing to note is the middle plug, or middle wire, is the one we're going to put onto the middle terminal on the pot. It is the wiper. This works as a voltage divider, so typically it'll be ground on one side, 5 volt on the other, and they'll measure the voltage between. And the position of the pot determines the voltage that's present as a voltage divider. And then this measures that voltage divider to work out whether or not it needs to turn the motor one way or the other to adjust its position. So let me put all this back together. I don't think I'll put that seal back in since it's no good, and I'll get some elastic and seal that up later. What we're going to do is install this, what they call a servo horn, onto the top here, and then we will affix this screw, 3D printed screw, to the horn. But before we fix that on, let's put the screw in. You can actually affix this to this with the screw in going up in through this hole. Yeah, it goes all the way through there. If you have a screwdriver that's long enough to go through there all the way. I don't, so I've got to put this on. You need about 150mm long screwdriver, Phillips size 0. Now with this piece here, I drilled it out to 3mm, and then I countersunk the holes here to make sure that these short screws, and I can't remember how long they are, I think they're like 10 or 12mm long, so they will pass through and spin. Okay, so that's all assembled. I don't need this plugged in just yet. The important thing to note is, while this has a green wire in, and we will probably plug it in that way initially to start with, so the green wire lines up with the green wire, there is a chance that it will be back to front, but this will allow me to just slip it over and reverse the direction. Okay, so this one here, very similar story. The gearing in the bottom has had the notch cut out so that it will turn continuously. So I'm not going to pull that end apart, but I will show you this end. Okay, so you can see here, I've put a knot in this with a cable tie on it to stop the wire from pulling out. It is just simply the two wires attached to the motor. There's nothing to it really. Down the bottom there is where the pot used to live, and that has been completely removed. I used that as a spare pot somewhere else. So when you pull the electronics board out of it, don't throw the board out, keep on a hold of it, because eventually you will ruin one of your servos. Everybody has. So if you keep the board Most of the time it's not the motor itself that burns out, but rather the electronics. So keep the board with the electronics. You can then use that to repair a servo should you have one fail. Now I do want to get a 150mm long screwdriver, size 0, because it'll make putting these in and out a lot easier down the track. Okay, so this is a 2-pin plug, matches up with this 2-pin plug, and we can just plug them together. In theory, they should be red to red and black to black, and it should all just work. But if it goes backwards compared to what I need, I can swap the plug over and reverse the direction. And these two are different direction threads. One's left hand, one's right hand, so don't mix them up. You'll get yourself into all sorts of trouble. And I haven't drilled that yet. Okay, so that should be plenty long enough there. Okay, something went funny with the video. I don't know what it was, but I had to unplug and replug in the video camera. Okay, it would seem that my webcam has decided it doesn't want to work anymore. So with that in mind, there is a little bit of video footage that I think I've lost. I've soldered these wires onto the pot and I've put heat shrink over to make sure they don't short out with each other. When you're looking at the little gear that you can print out as part of this assembly, you'll find that on one side it's got an odd number of teeth. So on one side you're going to have a pointed tooth perpendicular to that, pot internal, and a gap in the teeth on the other side. So we need the pointy part pointing in, and that's the inside there. So that will go into there like so. It's very important that that's pointing in. So this is the back side. The bearings will run in that groove. And that sits in there and is held by 2 screws. Now in the previous video I welded nuts in to hold those screws in place. And so when this back goes on, you can see on there I've actually coloured dark between 2 teeth. That's actually the middle, and that lines up with our coloured tooth there. And that should get it all centred. So when we do our final assembly on that, we need to keep that in mind as we're assembling it. When you look up through the bottom, you can see the gear at the bottom there, and you can see I've got the gap between the two. Okay, so this is the front piece. Now, I don't think there's any reason why this really needs to come apart again, so I might just get the 3D pen out and weld these pieces to the back plate. Okay, so I've welded all of the back side of these blue pieces in, but I haven't welded them to the front. And the reason for that is I can undo these two screws still and pull the back and the front parts halves apart. The blue pieces will stick with the back and this piece here will stick with the front. That's pretty good. Okay, this is where I see if I got my pot wired up the right way around or back to front. And then that's back to front. and that's the right way around. Alright, so that's working. It is operating the opposite way to what I was expecting, but it is working. I could swap the two servos around and that would reverse its direction, or I could swap the blocks and screws around and that would reverse its direction. Both are a possibility, but we'll look at that at another time. Okay, that'll do for this video. It's starting to get a bit long. I will work on fixing my camera if I can. I didn't get to any of the covers as I was hoping to, so we'll do that in the next video. At least we now have it operating under servo control, turning right and left, or rocking right and left. If you want to see the next video, don't forget to click on subscribe and ring that notification bell so YouTube will let you know when it does come out. If you like these videos, click on the like. There's links in the description to other playlists as well as the Inmoov website where you can download all the files used to build these robots, and also to my robot lab for the program that we use to drive it when we get to that stage. So we'll see you in the next video.